Hi, Marty.
This is our last podcast of November since we won't be meeting next week, the day after Thanksgiving.
Right.
So here we are on the doorstep of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing is, holidays never trigger anything for people. So
Yeah, it's a happy time of the year.
isn't it?
Yeah, joy, joy, fun, fun.
It's family time.
Family time. Oh boy. Actually, I can now say that. I
Me too.
I'm spending um uh Thanksgiving with both my daughters and my grandson at a Airbnb some small town in Oregon, and we're simply gonna just be there and um wow, it's really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm going to back to Houston and spend Thanksgiving with my sister and her family, her two
Cool.
daughters. Her older daughter is in from Turkey, where she lives, and looking forward to it. It'll be my first Thanksgiving there without mom.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
be there to support each other if we need to.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know if I shared this on the podcast, but in September and October, I not only had my 70th birthday party to which two of my siblings came, along with you and many other close friends and relatives, but um, I went to two weddings of a niece and a nephew on separate weekends. And
Mm-hmm.
both times that I was at the weddings, all of my siblings were there. And in the second wedding, all of their kids were there, except for a couple. And I was just really appreciating my family. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, genuinely appreciating, feeling joy and satisfaction at being in their company, and um, appreciating their uniqueness. Each of these, I'm the oldest of six, and the uniqueness of their spouses, their significant others. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, we all went through this stuff together. Yeah. And each one of them has a different experience, not surprisingly.
Right.
So oftentimes we'll sit around and compare notes about our childhood. And um, like my youngest brother asked a question about something that happened, and I had zero recollection of it whatsoever. And I'm 11 years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really enjoy the camaraderie. We've gone through the death of both of our parents, all of us together. We've gone through the helping them in their last years
Mm-hmm.
together, um, getting on conference calls and Zoom calls, and um, weighing the issues about healthcare, and um, then eventually both of them ending up in hospice and working with each other on those kinds of things. And um, I can't speak obviously for the rest of them, but that certainly made me feel closer, or maybe I just more aware of the closeness that was already there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
But I know that for not all of us are there yet for holidays, and
Right.
um, but I like Thanksgiving. I like the spirit behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude,
Yeah.
gratitude, gratitude.
Yeah.
We were in a Rusty Nail meeting last night, and one of our members is from Canada, and she was telling us about, oh, we've already had our Thanksgiving, and which they had in October.
Oh,
And
I didn't know that.
yep. Yeah, when I did a talk on Thanksgiving for my church last year, I did some research and found that there's many countries that have some kind of gratitude observation. They don't necessarily call it Thanksgiving. They might call it a day of gratitude or remembrance or something, reflection. But it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that a lot of countries have something. Um, not It may not be as steeped in the specific historic tradition as ours is, but it's there, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's on your mind.
I'm open to whatever comes up between us. It always goes back to how we got to where we're at, and it's the material and intentional living, being accountable, knowing how the family of origin dysfunction, childhood trauma influence decision making, and created beliefs, perception, and patterns that we got stuck in, and then getting unstuck or free from the reaction responses that I found myself in situations. I'd always react or respond in some coercive or violent or leaving or um, screaming, yelling, slamming doors, that kind of thing, to where now it's like, oh, wow, that just happened. What do I want? And or being present for the people in my life that in a just completely different way. It's so difficult to explain the difference in a way that goes, oh, everybody wants this, and we all.
Well, that's been a, I don't know if belief is the right word, but that's an assumption I've lived with for a long time. Everybody wants this.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants this. That doesn't mean that I have the right to force it on anybody, because it doesn't work
Right.
that way. But
Mm-hmm.
so when a newcomer comes to a meeting, my default assumption is that this person wants something powerful for him or herself. And
Right.
and as tough as it may be to get it, that's why this person is here. And
Right.
as you know, not everybody's ready, but everybody wants it, regardless of our state of readiness for it.
Right. Yeah.
Even those people that we bitterly condemn and think of as evil, they want this too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's because it's
Well,
human. It's a universal human longing to be who we really are, or to use spiritual religious terms, to be who we came here to be.
right. Yeah. I had no idea that I wanted anything other than everybody to act right.
I still want that. Are you kidding?
And that was about my need to control, my inability to respond to situations in a proactive way. Now I have that ability to respond in a proactive, affirming, let's not make anybody the bad guy. And what I just experienced from you, it hurt or it felt my feelings and expressing them.
Yeah. So I'd like to share an experience I had yesterday, because one of the things that is, I don't know what word to use, vexing, a challenge, something like that, is the persistence of the old pattern.
Yes.
Even in the face of this new information, and even as we discussed several podcasts ago, the fact that I have been working with the higher power to rewire my neurological structures such that awareness of what's going on often coincides with the experience of a trigger or an old pattern,
Mm-hmm.
new pattern happening simultaneously. So I got a text from a friend yesterday saying that an appointment that he had made with us, him and me, was not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't the first time this has happened. And my immediate response was anger and blame. And I felt myself wanting to retaliate
Mm-hmm.
and say something nasty and cutting. And so I had the awareness that that was going on. And I had the awareness that this is a pattern in our relationship, and that I made the conscious decision, I don't want to participate. And
Mm-hmm.
and this happened by text, which is not my favorite way of communicating things that have emotional connections to them. So my additional judgment was he texted me because of that, and to avoid the emotional entanglement. And And of course, I have no idea. I'm just making this shit up. And
Right.
so I basically sent him a text saying, okay, well, I wish you the best with what it is you got to do, and like that. And
Hmm.
but I found that I have been in low-level seething about it since yesterday evening when this occurred, and I had the chance to share this with Dan, with whom I was in a conversation just before I came on the podcast, and he helped me basically work the tree. And
Good.
so I'd like to just share with you my experience, and if there's any comments or observation that you have, that's cool too. But
Okay.
so Dan said, okay, so this is not about this person, this is about you, right? And I'm going, well, yeah. So what is the issue? What's the issue? And what I find sometimes when these things are very acute in terms of the emotional energies that are there. So
Hmm.
anger is the
Hmm.
emotional energy, and anger, Dan, as he helped me walk through this, is actually blocking the actual emotion. And it turns out to be an emotion I didn't want to feel. So anger was the automatic substitute. And so he helped me basically arrive to the awareness that I was feeling hurt. And he got me to the experience of feeling hurt by helping me. He said, what's your judgment of somebody who is not it? What's your judgment of somebody who receives such a communication and is being told that previously committed to appointments not happening? And what I saw when he asked that question was I was feeling unimportant and dismissed. And that led me to the realization that's not a feeling, that's an assessment. The feeling was I'm hurt.
Right.
I'm
Wow.
hurt. And so I was having this conversation. I was walking, and I just stopped. I said, look, I got to stop and feel this. And so I did. I just stopped and felt, and it's a familiar hurt. We label it in this work abandonment or whatever, but it just was the hurt of hurt. And so I
Hmm.
was able to just feel that, and it was filling up from my solar plexus up into my chest and then into my eyes as I felt tears show up. And so he just let me stand there and be with that. And so then I said, okay, so what do I want? And what I chose to do in the moment was to really ask that part of me, this part of my body right here that was experiencing that, ask it what it wants. And the immediate response came joy. I want to feel happy. I want to feel happy. And then the next feeling request was I want to feel at peace. So I just set that intention. I intend to feel happy and I intend to feel at peace. And so then we were talking about, so I was, sharing with him what was going on, and we talked about the persistence of this, and he was sharing his experience with similar kinds of difficult emotions that arise from when we perceive somebody has done something to us.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that there wasn't something done. I mean, there was something done, but the reaction and the response, for me, I know automatically that given the intensity of it and the duration of it, that this is about me. And I could see as we worked through the process, I could see why I didn't want to feel that. So I feel anger anytime over that feeling of hurt, which for me feels like a punch to the gut. I mean, literally, if you were to pull back your fist and slam it into my body, that's what the hurt feels like.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm actually surprised that a little kid, little Marty, could survive that, because it's hard enough for this adult to. I mean, that's not true. It's not hard to survive it. I do survive it, but I can see why it's not something that a 2 or 3 year old or 4 year old would welcome and would actually would create a defense against it. And
Mm-hmm.
so here it is. I'm 70 years old, and somebody sends me a text, and I spin right up into something that happened to me 65, 67 years ago. And so it's persistent.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be in a community of people like yourself and people in our different accountability groups, so that I can own the fact that I have a judgment, that there's, I should be healed by now. And even though intellectually I know this is not this, I know this isn't how it works, it's still, that's a thought that springs as I'm doing this process. And I'm not going to make that thought wrong. It's like, okay, yeah, okay, got it, thanks. But it's there. And so one of the things I just, I raised this because I think it's useful to help those who are watching this to recognize that we've called it this cunning, baffling, what's the third? Powerful, cunning, baffling, powerful disease, or I don't know that it's a disease, but it certainly is a defense that's worked like clockwork, day after day, year after year, decade after decade in my life. And it works that way because nobody taught me that it doesn't need to do that anymore. Right. And so that's what accountability is for me. Among the many things we can say about it, one thing we can say is that it's teaching me I can leave off my defenses. I don't have to have them anymore. And one of the ways that we do that is by noticing when they show up. So
yes.
So this thing happened last night, and as I said, it was persistent through this morning and through this conversation I had with Dan to help me see the truth. What's the truth? That's the beginning of the accountability tree, is I go to the truth of my experience. The truth is I'm hurt. The truth is I'm hurt, and I'm scared that the reason I'm being hurt is because there's going to be a break in a relationship. AKA I'm going to be abandoned. And I mean, intellectually, I know that's not true, but it doesn't change the fact that that's the feeling that arose. So I think I'll stop there and see whatever you might want to share about this.
Well, that's so good. There's a couple things I want to share. One was about the statement, I'd rather have anger than this feeling of hurt. And the other one is the response, I'm being abandoned or I feel hurt, when it's simply somebody saying, no, I can't meet with you, is a trigger. It's that inner child wounding, like you said, of being abused as a child and not having a recourse or a way to be proactive in your own, to act in your own behalf. Then it gets stuck, and then something happens in your current reality at 70, 72. And the automatic response is, I'm hurt, or he doesn't care about me. The assigning of the motivation for the other person out of all the different reasons he could have said, no, I can't meet with you today. And I want to use myself as an example. I would go right to, he doesn't care about me. Well, that first response, if it's like you said, this high level, angry, what the hell, is what happened to me as a child. So as a child, I could have said it many different times based on how I was being treated. They don't care about me. And I would have been right. So I'm being unable to go, that hurt, you don't care about me, this is not fair. As a child, it got stuck energetically in the subconscious. So when an event happens that is similar to that in frequency and intensity, or similar is the word, I'm similar to that, my body goes back and it goes through all my experiences. That one hits right, boom, he doesn't care about me. And then the response is not in alignment with current reality. The current
Right.
reality on a scale of 1 to 10 um, is like I'll assign a 3. Okay, that's concerning. I would prefer that you be here. And your response is 7, 8, 9. So that discrepancy tells about the wounding internal with me. And if I know that it's childhood trauma, and you said something about what is the issue, because whatever I pick in this state that is the issue, like he doesn't care about me, he's not reliable, is not the issue. The issue is what's internal, what's stuck in me, and yeah, and then bring that I'm hurt, I have a fear of being abandoned, to the accountability process. Okay, I'm able. My intent is to take care of myself, to nurture myself, to be gentle with myself, and it's solved. So yeah, that's a good example of the accountability tree work, and what prompts me to go to an accountability process is my reaction not in alignment with current reality. So the other part was I heard you say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I would rather be angry than hurt. And I want to offer that my experience of that is what I'm calling angry is an instance of resentment, bitterness, or contempt. And it has judgment on it, like he's an asshole or he's not reliable. So the judgment, and then I feel this, it's actually in our survival mechanism that no, I can't meet with you is a trigger for this survival mechanism to pump adrenaline. And then I would posture and fight, or I'd posture and flee. I don't give a shit about him. I'll never call him again. Or freeze, where everything goes away. Or I'd go into a please response. Mine would have been, as yours is, the fight response, like screw him. And we call that anger, and the emotion of anger, as I define it for myself, is a feeling of injustice or harm about to happen. In this case, harm, no harm about to happen, but unfair, yeah. And that it's a whelming of information about my next step in this moment. Resentment is a projection, and it's a projection of resentment, bitterness, contempt, which is an energy towards the other person. I used to either accuse somebody of something, call them names like lazy or unreliable, or you always said it, you always lie, or I would objectify them. Well, I just did with the lazy part, and that's from the resentment that the childhood pain has created in me that I now project onto the people around me. So, and I'm saying that for me, I'm hearing you say you were angry. I'm assuming that you were, and then I'm offering this information, and we'll see where it's at. For me, it would have been, fuck you. It's like, screw you then. And that's a projection of the resentment that I built up inside me about how unfair this is, with no recourse to find justice, because it's all stuck in my past, and there's anything I do today would never justify what happened or ease what happened in there. And that's what I'm looking for, is the ease of the pain. And I don't even know it. With this process, you knew that there was child unresolved trauma. So that's where you went, instead of projecting it onto the individual.
Yeah, so I appreciate that's a again, it's a useful distinction, because it was more in the anger, bitter resentment, not anger, resentment, bitter. What was the third? You said
Contempt.
contempt, because it was all about. Dan said, we're trying to make the other person behave so that we don't feel this way,
Right.
and that bitterness and contempt is like, I'm going to slap you silly until you stop doing this kind of shit.
Right.
And that's like, whoa, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if I got slapped silly as a kid in the attempt on my parents' part to make me behave and be
If
who they
not
needed me to
physically,
be.
energetically,
Yeah,
yes, you got
exactly.
slapped silly a lot. I did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got slapped silly with
So,
emotional
so of
abuse.
course that's what I would want to do, because that's what I
Yeah.
learned.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So you actually had a definition of resentment once. I was looking for it. Like something about to occur, or resentment is something. Do you remember your? Am I putting you on the
Um,
spot here?
well, I don't remember what that was when you started saying that, though. I have this thing about expectations. Expectations are
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
pre-planned resentments.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have an expectation that you act right, and then I'm watching, making sure that's happened, you don't, I'm resentful. I go,
Right.
oh, there it is again. There we go again. I can't trust anybody now, and everybody's in that category. It's like I'm testing everybody, and
But
um,
resentment has an emotional resonance. And
yeah,
maybe that's why I initially called it anger, because it, you use that word whelming. There's something that comes up normally in my torso and might affect my breathing, and it's probably adrenaline. Now I'm thinking about it. Adrenaline pumps, and I got my fists up, and I'm in reactive mode
yes,
of some kind. And and when I'm in reactive mode, of course, I'm automatically out of intimacy with anybody, including myself,
correct.
because I'm just really in defense, even though it might look like aggressive. It's really a defense. I can't I
Hmm.
can't let I can't let hurt happen. And not
Yeah,
that that's irrational. That's not what's going on
right.
at all. What's going
I
on is
like.
what's going on
Go
is
ahead.
I'm pissed at you and I resent what you did,
Hmm.
and I'm hellbound on correcting this.
Yeah,
That's the energetic experience that, I can give words of that, but it's all in, for me, again, it's in my gut and my upper torso.
right. I like what you said about resentment also being a frequency, because it is. Um, and it's a frequency coming from misinformation. It's a feeling, and the adrenaline that happens in our survival mechanism when we feel abandoned or rejected or you don't care about me is the survival response internally, physically, viscerally, is that my body goes into a reactive response, which means, depending on the situation, my adrenals pump adrenaline into my body to fight, flight, freeze, to stage for some kind of reaction, whether it's fight or flee or freeze. And so instead of seeing it as it is, because adrenaline takes us out of our emotional body. It takes us out of our rational body into a reactive mode so that we survive quick, instantaneous. So that the experience of me in an adrenaline rush, not knowing I'm in an adrenaline rush, I have to assign something rational, reasonable. And so we use the word anger, we use the word resentment, mad, when it's actually absent of emotion. Adrenaline mimics emotion. My hands, palms get sweaty, my heart races, I flush, I feel tense in my shoulders. Those are all body sensations, but they're the body sensations of survival. They're not the body sensations of my capacity to thrive in difficult situations. the difficult situations now become life or death, according to the inner child. If you abandon me, I will die, which is reasonable, because if a child gets abandoned, there's more food, shelter, clothing, protection. We're wired as children to connect, to attach. And without that attachment, the terror, fear is overwhelming. So our body shuts down and protects us in that trauma so that we can survive. So it's protecting us in our childhood. And then when we become adults in a situation that is not life-threatening, it's not a perilous place, it's a difficult, irritating place when somebody doesn't keep their, well, mine was burnt toast. It's like, you burnt my
I was thinking
toast.
about that
It's
earlier.
like, what the hell have I assigned to toast being done properly? Oh, go into my childhood, sit down with me at breakfast a couple times, or not having breakfast, and or only having a certain amount of toast, and you just burnt the toast. That means I don't eat. So that is life-threatening, although I forgot about that. And I don't really remember what the circumstances were. It doesn't matter. But this incident in real time, burnt toast, gets a reaction response that's way out of alignment with what's really going on. And then I got to justify it. So I say, well, there's something wrong with me, or I don't know how to control my emotions. When the truth is, adrenaline is doing a really good job. It's getting me out of my emotions into a reactive mode. And
You know,
it's
that makes me,
confusing.
it makes me wonder if resentment isn't basically a version of an adrenaline experience. Because
You know what?
resentment takes me out of a genuine emotion too.
Yes. Hmm. Somebody
And
who
it,
is bitter, like Gollum. I mean, that was a bitter little dude. He was like, he was single-minded.
yeah,
He
yeah.
needed that. So he was out of his humanity or his hobbitism, whatever you call it, into
Poverty,
this hobbit, into his obsession.
right.
It's a really good example. Wow.
Yeah. And you know, if you really want to extend the metaphor, I mean, you look at that physically deteriorated him.
Yes. Yes. I've witnessed people who are attractive become really ugly really quickly, and this energy comes over them. And I may be talking about myself, but that I'm aggrandizing myself saying I'm attractive, but still, and this tort, oh my God. And it's not pretty. I've seen it in
Well,
people.
and the opposite is also true.
Hmm.
And I've seen people blossom into beauty by letting go of, by learning about what's actually going on with them, and, you know, owning it,
Hmm.
letting it
Hmm.
go.
Hmm.
I've seen people glow
Yes,
in a meeting
absolutely.
where they weren't glowing. In fact, they might have been in, you know, body heaving sobs
Right,
5 minutes earlier.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it works both ways.
So this accountability tree process, the family of origin, dysfunction, childhood trauma, is a physical chemical thing. There's chemistry created in the perception of what's going on. So if I perceive somebody's about saber-tooth tiger, there's a physical, visceral change in my body of adrenaline to move me in an instant, because I haven't got time to think about, I haven't got time to judge the tiger. It's like that asshole. It's like by that time, I got a big tooth stuck in me somewhere. It's like, boom, gone. There's no judgment. There's no blame. There's just reaction. And when that survival reaction is taken into the home, where it's dinner time, breakfast time, sitting around talking time, it's devastating. And then we have to like say something about it, not knowing this mechanism is going on, not knowing that we're still impacted by childhood trauma, that thinking we're rational sentient beings. We got to come up with a reason, and then we go into blame, judgment, defense, self-deprecating, other deprecating language, which has nothing to do with what's really going on. It's a projection.
As you were sharing, I was thinking of the social context within which this happens, our family or our work experience or school or whatever it is. And something came up in a meeting I was in, a one-on-one meeting I was in earlier this week, and it had to do with how to raise a trigger in a meeting when the immediate cause of the trigger is somebody else in the meeting. And so we had a conversation about that, and I can probably count on the fingers of one hand in years and years of meetings where I've witnessed somebody say, I just, something you said has caused a trigger in me, and I need to work on this. And it's not about you, but I heard you say blah, 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 whatever it is. And so we had an interesting conversation, and I said that I would ask you about your experience with that and your thoughts about, because it seems to me that if I can't own a trigger in a meeting, if I can't have the vulnerability of owning that, I'm never going to be able to do it in a less conscious social setting like my family.
Yeah. That when you're explaining the person did that, it's not about you. That sounds like somebody who has either done this work or stumbled on it somehow, some way, their own. Which like I don't think intentional living accountability tree process is the end all be all. I do see it as a technique that works really well, and I think that's why business meetings are so tough in the first place, because they don't have the insight that what that person just said is something I'm taking personal, instead of looking at whatever the bottom line. I'm in the addiction field, and when I go to a staff meeting, the bottom line for me is the clients. It's not about me. It's what's best for the client. So I go in there with the intent that whatever my interaction with staff is about creating service for the clients. And if I'm doing something that is disrupting the service to the clients, I want to know, because I will change it, or I will address it, or I will look at it. The saying, personalize everything, don't take anything personal. Like, personalize everything means if I'm triggered, that's me. I'm gonna personalize that because it's coming from me. What you do and say about me, it is not me, it's you. I'm not going to take your insult personally. I'm going to say, "Oh, that sounds like an insult," and it's like, I know that whatever your perception of me, I can agree to it. I can go, "Oh yeah, that was rude on my part. I get that. I can own that," or I can say, "I'm no, okay, no," and I can either respond or not. I have this other saying that whenever I'm defending myself, I'm participating in my own oppression. So if
That's
somebody
a
in a
tough
staff
one.
meeting,
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
To grow to,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all out of no blame, no judgment, I know. But that takes a level of admirable spiritual maturity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am able. I'm okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
I mean, I had practice being a facilitator.
But I do agree. If I could just,
I
just want to underscore, I do agree with that sentiment that you just said, that when I'm defending myself, I'm participating in my own oppression. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a reason learn to accept comments that someone says and not to personalize it.
Right.
To personalize it from my perspective, but not coming from the other person.
Right. Not to take it personal.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. My response is how I perceive you. I'll personalize that all day long. How you perceive me is none of my business. And unless it's life threatening, okay, what do you need from me? It's like, ask me, then I can answer yes, no, maybe. Instead of going, well, you can't say that about me because I did this and I did this and I'm working hard and no, you can say that about me. And I can say, I don't accept that, or yes, no, maybe.
Right. It's like you can cancel a meeting you made with me.
Yes. Anytime you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm, anytime I ask a question, I'm open to hearing yes, no, or maybe. If I'm not open to hearing you respond no, then I'm not really asking a question. I'm making a demand. Like, would you be willing to share? And you go, no. I said, oh, okay. And I move on. It's like, what do you mean you're not willing to share? How come everybody else is sharing? How come you're not sharing?
Right.
It's like, no, I don't do, okay, no means no. I can ask for an explanation and you can offer it, none necessary. No is a complete sentence.
Right.
And this was a tough one in for me in my personal relationships, because I did not have the ability to say no in the first place, and I did not want to hear somebody say no. Like, would you, I don't know, do the dishes? No. It's like, what? It's like, oh, okay. Then either I'll do them or they'll wait till the morning. I'm cool. Yay. And before it was knock down, drag out. Who do you think you are? Don't you know who I am?
You know, one of the things I noticed when I started doing this work, and I became aware of the truth that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
I became aware of this phenomenon where someone would ask me to do something and I didn't want to do it. And I found myself, rather than saying no, explaining and explaining and excusing.
Right.
It's like, because I just assumed that I actually didn't have a right to say no.
Right.
Or that the person that I was saying no to had some power over me to make me say yes.
Right.
And I noticed that still, even in our meetings, people will go into long explanations why they can't do this. That's like, well, I don't care why you can't do it. You can't.
Right.
That's fine.
Right. Yeah. I have gotten.
But that takes a
used.
practice because of fear of abandonment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's ways to say no that that's sort of like, no, I can't do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Tone, inflection, posture, facial muscles. There's all kinds of ways to communicate something that's not really in your words you're using. So.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So cool.
One of the underlying principles of our work here is nothing's wrong. And what is a challenge with that is that nothing's wrong has no asterisk to it. It's not nothing's wrong except in these cases. No, it's like nothing's ever wrong. Right. So when I'm experiencing or I'm having a thought that something's wrong, there's nothing wrong with that either. And I get the opportunity to learn something about the process that led me to that conclusion or that statement or that experience. There's something wrong. And there could be something wrong in the sense that there's a danger, but even danger is not wrong. It's just a situation where something's threatening. And now I have the opportunity, I have information. My body gives me, we talked about this a few minutes ago with the adrenaline, my body gives me information. But it's interesting because we are steeped in this period of our evolution in needing to make things right and wrong.
Yeah.
And I still see it in myself. I still have this, I don't know how many times a day somebody will do something I'll give you an instance. Yesterday, I'm looking out my window and one of my neighbors has her dog and her dog takes this ginormous dump on my lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just walked away.
Mm.
And I'm like, I watched this like, who do you think you are? Get back here and pick up that dog crap. It's on my lawn and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I don't have any control over the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out to get the mail about 10 minutes later and I came back and the poop was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned is my resentment was had no ground in actual reality. You pardon the
No,
expression.
no, she went to get the bag.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
So I'm
Yeah.
still
That's a
doing
good
it.
example.
Again, nothing's
Uh-huh.
wrong.
Right.
But I get to learn from these things if I pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I don't, next time a dog takes a crap on my lawn, maybe I will notice if a resentment rises up.
There you go.
Because while I'm not about to run around and do my neighbor's business, I could. I go pick it up
Mm-hmm.
or let it sit there until it rots and
Mm-hmm.
helps fertilize the lawn. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But that was that was a great lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this concept of right wrong. Well, it's an intellectual. Our
True.
our, our intellect is about um, dissecting,
And
and it's
analyzing.
not even intellectualizing is not wrong. It has its place. And I'll give you my example. My intellect, my ability to see right, wrong, to dissect things, got took control of my whole experience. Instead of tempering it with, let's say, heart or feeling, it was all up in the head. That's wrong, high energy, judgment, blame, and I lived in that world. Since I've incorporated my heart space or my emotional feeling body, um, the need to dissect and cut things apart is less. The need to do it is less. It's like, and the statement "nothing is wrong." It is the way it is. What do I want based on how what is being in life instead of railing against life. It's like I heard this from Eckhart Tolle. It's like you can be on the freeway and you can be railing against what it is, traffic jam, or you could be in the traffic jam and be part of whatever's going on without making it right. Or my thought is people don't know how to merge, otherwise everything would go really smoothly. We can put all the cars we want on the freeway just as long as these guys learn how to just merge. That's all. Just give room, and it's like, okay, that's my right, wrong, good, bad. Um, and now it's like, okay, I'm in a traffic jam, and I'm going to be late.
Well, the irony is that we were working on. Somebody was working last night on the sense that I don't know who I am, and I feel out of sorts in my life. And the facilitator said, "Well, would you be willing to consider that you always are who you are, and that you can start by being who you are by saying I don't know who I am, and I give myself permission."
Right. Wow.
And to get so that's to me the power of nothing's wrong is if I'm willing to start with where I am. And this is
Yeah.
again one of the great values of accountability is because it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter where you think you're going,
Right.
you're always present.
Right.
And you're always, so if I'm not present to myself, that's presence.
Right.
And that's where we can start.
Yeah.
So I'm always in the traffic jam. I'm just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And the formulation that you taught me and taught us, that I give myself permission to be unaware that I'm in a traffic jam, it changes everything.
Yes.
Even in the moment, most of us report there's a relaxation in the tension that maybe accompanying the stress or the concern or the hullabaloo. It's like, oh, I give myself permission to be in a hullabaloo. Wow.
See, it starts with the principle, what you resist persists. So I don't want to be where I'm at. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be unknowing. I want to know who I am. This mechanism is in an adrenaline rush mode, and it's seeking for you to get what you want, and it creates this angst. And as soon as I give myself permission to not know, this mechanism goes, oh, okay, thank you for paying attention. And the adrenaline gets out of my body, and my body may produce serotonin, or the feel-good drug, I believe is serotonin, or some other chemistry that gives me a different mood tone, so that I can address or lucidly talk about, it would be nice to know who I am. Anybody got any thoughts on that? What's your struggle about? Who are you? And this dialogue starts, and this growth, the availability to new information and expansion happens when I accept exactly where I'm at as I am.
And that's really cool, because what you just said is what happened in the meeting. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And the person asked a question of other people, and other people shared their experience, and then she had a aha moment listening to what other people said, and it was and at the end of the dialogue, which probably went on for 20-25 minutes, everybody was glowing, and again, the dopamine or whatever had taken over the adrenaline. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
When I give myself permission to be where I am in the moment. I'm stuck. I'm feeling stupid. I'm scared, whatever. What I notice is that is an act of self-acceptance, and it all starts there. So if I give myself permission, I'm accepting myself just the way I am.
And it's also what the um, um, children of alcoholics, adult children of alcoholics, say is the loving parent. I see you're frustrated. Okay. I see that you're in some angst and some anxiety. Oh, okay. I see that. I validate that. And it's self-validation, and there's this opening, relief, sloughing of need to, have to, got to, be right, be good, all that stuff we're inundated with and don't know how to do.
And all the stuff that, as you said earlier, all that stuff that's still buried as strictures in our subconscious. I have to, I must, I should. If I don't, blah, blah.
And those are the expectations that we put on ourselves and other people.
Right. And so, I often reflect on this power of this self-acceptance, because what I came to understand is that that's exactly what I didn't get as a kid. Or if I got it, I didn't get it. And so that's what my perception was. I didn't get it. So when and that's why this is a practice, because in not getting it as a little kid, I became acclimated to that. I created what you call in the work that my love equals. Love equals I'm all alone, and only I can take care of me.
Right.
Or whatever the version of that is. And then everything is acclimated to seeing that in the world. Now my particular activating system, my psychological filters mechanism, will send in only information that supports I'm all alone in this world.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So now I go, okay, I intend to create a world of joy, peace, freedom, and community. That takes time to materialize. But it does.
It does.
It does. And I shared that with and you noted it when I was talking about this situation that happened yesterday, and my resentment and so forth. I knew enough to notice that this was about me, and to not react the way I would have reacted maybe even a year ago. certainly 2 years ago, was something sarcastic or something emotionally violent. And so I knew not to do that. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, nope. This is about me, so I'm not going to do that. Even though it still took me 18 hours to get to work through it.
Yeah. 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 That's 18 hours is sometimes well, back in my was actually a short period of time compared to what I used to stay
Right.
in the resentment, bitterness, contempt. I would angst on what somebody said to me for 2 years, and the only thing that would get me off of that is somebody else doing something I thought was worse than that. Then I'd get on that for another long period
Sure.
of time. I just switch from one resentment to the next.
Sure. Well, how many of us have carried a lifetime of resentments?
Correct. Oh my God.
And in again, to refer to the ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, what do they say? We treat ourselves as victims rather than actors. And that's exactly what, if I'm in a condition of resentment, I'm in a prison. I'm a victim. I'm powerless. The resentment has the power. I don't.
See, I have the ability to say in a situation like similar to yours, I'm disappointed, and have that be okay.
Right.
Yeah. I was looking forward to this conversation or whatever this was. I'm feeling disappointed. Oh, okay. Yeah. And then what do I want now? What am I going to do now? And stay proactive in my life instead of dropping into the victim. Oh, you don't care about me. Oh, that guy.
It's like going back home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Well, oftentimes when I drop into that, it is like going back to my home of origin. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a very, very familiar, not only is it a very familiar emotional experience, but it's a very familiar reaction to it. It's almost like I can surrender my consciousness and just let the old script just take over and run things. It's like, I don't need to be responsible. I can be a victim of my training, my upbringing.
Right.
Yeah, this being a self-autonomous human being is a lot of work these days. But it's good work.
And it benefits the whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, John,
We've come up again. That was
another
another
hour
quick
of enlightenment has come and gone. So I wish you and yours a wonderful time in Oregon.
Thank you.
Over the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're scheduled to have a special guest on our first podcast in December. And I think that one will happen, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Marty.
All right, thank you, John.
Oh, do you want to say something about contacting, getting the information at the end?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. For anybody who would like to participate in this process, there are several meetings all on Zoom that you can come to, and if you just you send a note to me or John, our email addresses will be on the screen at the end of the podcast. We'll be happy to shoot you the information, the Zoom addresses. There's a Monday night and a Thursday night Pacific time at 6:30 Zoom meeting, accountability practice meeting, and John hosts one on Saturday mornings at 8:30 Pacific time. And everybody is welcome to one or all of those meetings. You can bring an issue of your own to it. As John says, if there's something you want in your life that you don't have, you can bring that query to the meeting, or you can just listen and observe and see what other people do in the work. There's nothing wrong. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. So you can come to the meeting to find fellowship and a different way of being. So Monday and Thursday, 6:30 p.m., Saturday morning, 8:30 a.m., all Pacific time.
And then there's one on Tuesday evening, 6, men's group.
That one's on hold for now.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good.
So someone's working on getting that going again.
Okay. Sounds
All
good.
righty. So thanks for that reminder, John, and we'll see you in December.
You got it.
Take
Talk to you
care.
later, Martin. Yeah.